Support comes from
Entergy provides much more than power. We support science and engineering at local schools to build a brighter path to better jobs and help prepare the next generation. Because together, we power life. Entergy.
additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.
Sugar recovery was at record levels.
How the state's sugarcane has apparently survived our winter.
This season, Mother Nature is really toying with us, and
The rules aren't applying.
the rules aren't applying.
Trying to explain why it's been so cold.
Congressional district's a little bit like a knife fight.
A first ever summit looks at redistricting in Louisiana. Hi everyone, I'm Andre Morrow. More on those stories in a moment, but right now on SWI, the state we're in, the week's headlines. Severe cold weather prompted Governor John Bel Edwards to issue an emergency declaration throughout Louisiana this week. The icing on roads caused the interstate system to shut down, and for days people basically stayed home. The Department of Transportation deployed 1,200 workers for 24-hour operations to secure and de-ice roads. Several hundred trucks poured 1.5 million pounds of salt to melt ice to reduce the dangers of travel. 5 of the state's airports closed during the deep freeze. At least 4 people died in Louisiana during this ice event. They included a man who was knocked off an elevated section of Interstate 10 in New Orleans when a pickup spun out on ice. An 8-month-old baby died in a car that slid into a canal in suburban New Orleans. We all want the best bang for our buck heating and insulating our homes. And this weekend, LSU's Ag Center can show you all that's available. Their Louisiana House Resource Center demonstration home will showcase the latest in energy savings. There's an open house Saturday, January 20th from 10 to 2 on Gurrier Avenue. If you are interested, go online to lsuagcenter.com//La House. You'll get all the info you need for the event. Alabama beat out Louisiana for a $1.6 billion Toyota Mazda joint auto plant that will mean 4,000 new jobs for the Yellowhammer State. State Economic Development Secretary Don Pearson says the bids were comparable, but Alabama's footprint with existing car manufacturing plants was an advantage. Louisiana offered a $500 million incentive, while Alabama offered less cash, but countered with donated land and property tax values. Pearson says his agency will re-examine what it's doing because it wants to be a player in the car building industry. A proposed $3.6 billion methanol-producing mega plant in Plaquemines Parish now has its air quality permit from Louisiana's DEQ. When the Gulf Coast Methanol Park is completed in 2 years, it's expected to produce 7.2 tons of methanol from natural gas and employ thousands of workers. The complex, which is made up of 4 identical methanol plants, boasts of being the largest and lowest emission methanol plant in the world. Senator Bill Cassidy has been awarded for his efforts to save the federal historic tax credits. Work done by Cassidy and Louisiana's congressional delegation helped save the historic tax credit as Republicans pushed their signature tax bill through Congress. Louisiana has benefited from the historic credit perhaps more than any other state, with the rehab of thousands of historically significant buildings. The future of the program was threatened during the tax reform process. Some choice words from Governor Edwards about Florida Governor Rick Scott and his so-called trade mission to Louisiana. Scott wants to lure business away from Louisiana and into Florida. Besides trying to poach business from us, Edwards says Scott is also trying to raise money for his own future political campaigns. Today was supposed to be the day that the governor released his doomsday budget for the state of Louisiana for this next fiscal year. Of course, weather has delayed that until Monday. Greg Hilburn with USA Today Network, you have talked with people all over the state, talked with newspapers. What are you hearing from people? What are they fearing the most about the cuts?
Well, I have, Andre, and by the way, it's good to see you again, and I appreciate you having me on today. I think that when the governor announces his executive budget for next year, it will be, of course, at least $1 billion in cuts. And it will be intended to create shock and awe. He will cut the things that people most want in order to find some pressure points on these lawmakers to come up with some more of the revenue or taxes that he wants to fill this hole.
Greg,
One of those things. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Are you hearing anything that has happened that where there's been progress or a lack of progress in the last week or two?
Well, in the last 9 weeks, which is how long these negotiations have been going on, it may be cold across Louisiana this week, but those negotiations have been even colder. Now we'll see whether or not they can thaw before the time it is where some decisions have to be made. I think that there have been maybe some progress, but certainly nowhere near any kind of resolution.
Did all of his talks with civic groups and business leaders of the past year, did that really do any good? It was good PR, certainly, but do you think it really helped in terms of what he wants to accomplish?
I'm not sure. It depends on whether or not those constituents who he talked with and to have relayed any kind of pressure toward their lawmaker, whether he or she can vote for any kind of revenue to fill these cuts or this temporary $1 billion in taxes that's going to fall off the rolls.
You know, for it seems years, but certainly now, people have heard the sky is falling, the sky is falling. How do you plan on covering this legislature with that in mind? And people, maybe they look up and they say, well, it hasn't fallen yet. It's not great, but it hasn't fallen. How do you plan on covering it?
Well, that's right. It hasn't, and that's because of these temporary measures that have been enacted. And first 2 years ago, with the temporary sales tax covering most of this $1 billion, but there's some other temporary taxes, and it's true. People become numb to the skies falling tactics, and the chairman of the Appropriations Committee, which crafts the budget, Cameron Henry, who is a Republican, has said he expects the governor to issue these what he calls scare tactics to try to pressure lawmakers into doing things that they might be reticent to do, which is basically raise taxes or make taxes permanent that are temporary.
So at the end of the day, what do you wind up and see that you think will happen?
I think that there will be a special session either in February or June, since taxes can't be raised during this year's regular session. And I think there will be a combination, a little piece of the penny, which is the extra temporary sales tax penny, will be kept as a bridge. And they will probably clean some of the exemptions from the existing pennies. In other words, move them off the rolls to raise some revenue, and very possibly they will eliminate the excise itemized federal deduction for Louisiana income taxes. That is one measure that would only take a majority in the House, which is 53 votes instead of 70. And cobbling all this together, that's my prediction. I don't know if it'll get to $1 billion. I don't know if the Republican House will warm to that, but some revenue will be raised.
And let me ask you briefly, the big roads project was brought up, of course, in the past week. Do you see them in any special session talking about highway construction at all, sneaking that in somewhere, and how to raise maybe a gas tax again or some sort of revenue building project?
I don't think so, because everybody's so focused on what they call this fiscal cliff of falling off. This $1 billion falling off. I don't think so, and it was such a disaster last year. Yeah. I'm not sure that they're going to have to, if they raise any taxes in this session to replace these temporary taxes. Now they may add a sweetener in there as part of the negotiations to say we will vote on this if part of it would go toward transportation. So that's a possibility.
All right. Greg, Hilburn, always good to talk to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Andre.
Also happening, a first ever summit on the drawing of political boundaries in Louisiana. It took place today on the LSU campus. It was fueled by what's known as gerrymandering, or drawing of districts for political party advantage. Now, there are a number of cases that could head to the Supreme Court about how states draw their districts. And in the year 2020, Louisiana will again look at its districts. LPB President Beth Courtney moderated a talk that included a panel of state legislators. Here's a look.
The law is clear that racial gerrymandering is unconstitutional. You may not draw districts diluting minority voting strength. But what if districts are drawn to favor certain parties? Well, is this simply a clever strategy, or is it unconstitutional?
You know, we have kind of maintained that agreement, if you will, amongst legislators that unless you really get into a true battle on lines in a certain area, that I'll draw my district, you draw your district, and hopefully you can appease as many legislators as you possibly can. Congressional district's a little bit like a knife fight, particularly when you're going to lose a member, which has been, you know, the circumstance that we've had.
When you move a number around, let's say you're going to move a precinct around, to get that done, and you have it gets so contentious that when you move the one, you move it down at home, and when you move that, well, it's just like pushing on a balloon. It's like the law of physics. It pushes something less in the state.
But I think that the most important thing is that we are still looking at the premise that we don't feel that minority districts need to be packed. They should not be packed, because when you pack one minority district, you then create another white district.
If you want to watch the entire discussion, you can online right now at lpb.org/newsmakers. Well, you see some of those low temperatures there. This winter may not go down as historically the coldest ever on record, but if you ask around, most will tell you they don't remember one that was consistently this cold. We sat down with state climatologist Barry Keim. If there is a meteorological thing about this winter, it would be the polar vortex. Explain that for us.
Okay, the polar vortex is essentially the position of the jet stream. And when the jet stream over the United States gets in a configuration where Louisiana falls on the north side, what that tells us is that we are experiencing either air off of the Pacific Ocean or out of Canada. And in this case, we're looking at Canadian air that's just been pouring into Louisiana.
Pouring in really since November, with the December snow and cold, and now this second snow event in mid-January with the addition of freezing rain and ice. This week, Shreveport and Monroe got it first, with 2 to 3 inches of snow plus ice reported. Pretty to look at, dangerous to try and get around in. A cold rain had already soaked the southern part of the state, so when it turned to freezing rain and snow and the mercury dropped below freezing, an ice event, very unusual for us, was in full force. What is it that makes the polar vortex drift south or in a southerly way?
Well, that's the million-dollar question. Basically, what happens is we get a lot of cold air that is manufactured up in the Arctic region, which makes perfect sense. It's in total darkness, very low imprint to no imprint of the sun. And by virtue of that, lots of cold air gets produced, and then it just starts to flow out because that air is very cold, very heavy, and very dense. And at some point, that air is going to start to flow off into some direction and create some big lobe of cold air drifting out of the Arctic region.
And Louisiana is where much of it drifted. The result has produced stuff we just don't see around here. Typical interstate gridlock, not a car in sight, with our interstate systems closed because everything was covered in ice. Then snow on top of that in many places. Trying to cross the state's major bridges? Impossible. Some were closed for days. And it's not just roads and bridges that closed. The state's entire transportation grid was knocked offline. 5 airports closed for some amount of time. And this winter is not the one that was forecast. This is supposed to be a weak La Nina winter, which means dry and warmer?
That's correct. La Ninas tend to be warm and dry in Louisiana because the polar vortex, the jet stream, tends to be in a position much further to the north. And by virtue of that, we normally are basking in air off the Gulf of Mexico. This season, Mother Nature is really toying with us, and
the rules aren't applying.
The rules aren't applying, and I mean, it is what it is. Not every La Nina is alike. This is a weak La Nina. Having said that, things are not playing out the way we had anticipated going into the season.
In general, Louisiana is not equipped to handle ice and snow events. They are rare for us.
Here in Louisiana, it's rare that we are consistently in the low 20s and in the teens. So most of our solid precipitation comes in the form of sleet and some freezing rain. And if you get pure snow, it's a real gift.
One thing to remember, it's January, winter's not over.
No, in fact, the true midpoint of winter is probably like the third week of January, so that's about right now.
Yeah.
So we're right about the lowest point in the as far as the average temperatures go, and we'll gradually start climbing out of this. But having said that, some of the coldest temperatures we've ever had in Louisiana were in February.
Right.
So there's a lot of winter still in front of us.
Be on the lookout.
Yeah.
But there is supposed to be a warm-up this weekend. So how did some of the state's top crops weather this severe cold? LPB's Kelly Spires found out from an LSU ag economist. Kelly?
That's right, Andre. I spoke with Kent Guidry. He's based outside of the town of Rain in Acadia Parish. We talked via Skype, and he told me that there's more good news than bad. Now, as I understand it, there aren't too many crops in the ground this time of year, and that sugarcane harvest is coming to a close. I am wondering if you could tell us what happens to sugarcane when it gets too cold, and how this cold snap could affect the harvest as a whole.
Yes, ma'am. Prior to the first freezing event and snow event that we had early in January, we were approaching about 90% of the sugarcane crop being harvested. When we do get these really cold, freezing temperatures, it can start to deteriorate the sugarcane in the field, which makes it much more important to get that sugarcane processed quickly, much more quickly than we normally would. Typically, you have about 2 weeks once you get these freezing temperatures before you start to see some significant deterioration of the crop in the field.
Kind of the amazing thing, though, is that most of the crop was already out of the ground, and we're seeing record numbers in terms of sugar recovery.
Absolutely. Prior to the first event that we saw earlier this year in January, sugar recovery was at record levels. We had increased production this year. We had slightly increased acres in sugarcane production this year. When you couple with that increased cane tonnage and increased sugar recovery, this year, even despite the issues that we've had here in January, the 2017 crop will be a record large crop for Louisiana.
And sugarcane is a multi-year crop. What does this mean for crops down the line?
Yeah, certainly. When we look at sugarcane, we plant it in 1 year, and then we hope to harvest it for 2 or 3 years, sometimes even 4 years after that initial planting. So certainly what happens in 1 year can have impacts on the sugarcane production in the remaining life of that production cycle. Right now, it's probably a little too early to tell. We won't really have a true indication of any impacts that we may have had from these freezing temperatures until this crop starts to kind of grow out later this spring.
It's my understanding that this cold weather could be good news for crops that haven't been planted yet. Could you explain that for me?
Yeah, certainly. When you look at Louisiana, the majority of our crops are spring planted crops. When you look at things like corn, soybeans, rice, cotton, those are our agronomic crops that make up a large percentage of our total agricultural value here in the state of Louisiana. What these cold snaps can do is can have a pretty beneficial impact on pest populations. The last several years when we've had relatively mild winters, insect populations, disease populations tend to increase tend to level out when we have those mild winters. Hopefully, with these really cold temperatures, that will have a pretty significant impact on those insect populations. If we don't have that insect pressure, we don't have that disease pressure, producers don't have to spend the money that they normally would to manage those particular pests. So it can have some benefits for our later spring planted crops. And for most of those producers, we're really needing a good production year in 2018, 2016, 2017. For a lot of those producers were really, really difficult because of certainly the floods that we had in August of 2016. And then this year we also had significantly wet conditions, excessive rain through most of our growing year, which really had an impact on a lot of our production for a lot of our commodities. So when you look at those two things, last couple of years being very, very difficult, 2018 hopefully will be a better year for our producers. And lower insect and disease populations really provides a kind of a basis or a good foundation for those crops going into the 2018 production year.
Okay, well, thank you very much for explaining all of this and for your time, Kurt.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Hey, Kelly, a crop that you don't plant, the crop of crawfish, how did the cold affect them?
Well, you may want to wait a little bit longer for that first boil this year. Typically, earlier in the season, supply is tight, so prices are high. Guidry expects that trend to last a little further into the spring than in a normal year.
All right, Kelly, thanks so much for that. Appreciate it. You know, it's rare to see Louisiana first in anything education related, but for 2 years in a row now, the Lumina Foundation ranked us #1 for the percentage of working age adults with a high quality post-secondary certificate. The state community and technical college system has made great strides during its 19-year existence. Dr. Monty Sullivan, the president of the state community and tech college system, told me it's an ever-evolving process to remain vibrant and present. Here's an excerpt from our interview.
We have certainly felt the brunt of cuts. We've been cut by about $80 million over the last decade. However, we spend our time focusing not so much on the cuts, but rather how we continue to deliver in every community across Louisiana. The mission of two-year colleges is so important to the people of the state and to the business community to ensure that people have opportunity to participate in what has become a strong economy.
Be sure to join us next week. We'll have the full interview with Dr. Sullivan on next week's edition of SWI Louisiana, the state we're in. In November, the State Department of Education launched a first of its kind in the country online database of early childhood centers. It's called the Louisiana School Finder Tool, and it gives performance scores for all of the state's publicly funded early child care centers to show how well students are prepared to move on to the next grade.
Women generally have part-time jobs that are about twice the number of men, and they often cite the fact that they're not full-time workers because of the high cost of child care. So if they had reliable, affordable child care, they probably could be able to enter the full-time workforce as well. When you look at the statistics in terms of absenteeism, in terms of productivity, everything about child care and early learning impacts the workforce and the economy.
This month, Louisiana Public Square airs Wednesday, January 24th at 7 p.m. on LPB and in New Orleans on WLAE. Visit lpb.org/public square for more information. Acclaimed Louisiana author Ernest Gaines has written a new novella, The Tragedy of Brady Sims. The story revolves around a courthouse shooting that leads a young reporter to uncover an old story of race and power, black and white. The 11th Ernest Gaines Award for Literary Excellence was given Thursday night at the Manship Theater at the Shaw Center for the Arts in Baton Rouge and featured Ernest Gaines himself reading from his new book.
Next came the loudest sound that I'd ever heard. I saw the prisoner fall back with blood splashing from his body, and both deputies let go of his arms at the same time.
Ernest Gaines. The winner of the 11th Ernest Gaines Award is Lady Hubbard. You see her here. She's from New Orleans, and she wrote a novel, The Talented Ribkins, which she won the award for. She receives $10,000 in cash and a commemorative sculpture. And that's our show for this week. Remember, you can watch LPB on demand on your phone or tablet with our LPB Anywhere app. The download is free from your app store. You can catch LPB news and public affairs shows, as well as other Louisiana programs that you've come to enjoy over the years. And please like us on Facebook as well. For everyone at Louisiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Andre Morrow. Thanks for watching. And until next time, that's the state we're in.
Check us out on Facebook and Twitter, and visit lpb.org, where you can view more stories and leave us a comment. This program is available on DVD. Support comes from
Entergy provides much more than power. We support science and engineering at local schools to build a brighter path to better jobs and help prepare the next generation. Because together, we power life. Entergy.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.